currently working on volume 3 of the Ukrainian Saints right now. Reconquista says fake James from India. What? Okay. Hopefully that should be put up at the end of the month. We'll start on 3 of the Serbian new martyrs. Tradition of Vladika Enoch, traditional Western Orthodoxy, Blessed Pentecost. Thank you, Vladika. And okay, whoa, hey, what's going on? It's JEEM. How's it going? What can I do?
It's not fake JEEM. I'm actually surviving a fever at the moment, but I wanted to call in and say, hey, is this just a Q&A? Any subject goes, or what are we doing?
Any subject goes whenever you want to do, when we're doing a Q&A, but because we keep that open. But I was about to do a video review, but that's cool. If you have a question or a comment, or you want to go in.
No, I don't actually have much to ask. Just wanted to pop in and see if there's any scintillating conversation going on. Maybe other people call in as well.
Yeah, we just started.
Okay.
Father Boniface is doing better. There's a few things. We have like a new troll. His name is Goron. He's very impressed with you, but he likes to occasionally just write lots of ridiculous things, and that's okay. We welcome him. So this is JEEM Fridge reveal.
What was this thing from William Albrecht? Did you try debating him or something?
I actually tried to call in on his channel. It was last Friday or something. And so, I just, because I knew he wasn't going to take the call. You have to realize, if you know our real history, we've actually debated twice. Only one of those videos made it, because the other one was a roundtable discussion where he was defending Fatima, and it got to the point where he tried to prove that clothes drying in the sun was a miracle. Where do you go? What is he going to pull out that walrus? Oh, anyway, so after that, basically that was nasty. That was a few years ago. Then, like in the last year, I was actually going to try to debate on the papacy on the Gospel Truth channel. And William Albrecht supposedly accepted. I was like, that's only going to work until he realizes it's me. And so as soon as he did, I was like, this isn't going to happen. But he pretended it did. And then a month later, he's like, I couldn't do it. Of course he could. So now he's doing these live Q&As all the time. So I figured I'd call in on one. And I'm not kidding. He starts getting mad because he's like, well, first off, I completely destroyed you. Battered you in that Immaculate Conception debate. Now, 2 weeks before this on Twitter, I was talking about like going back and forth, and some Catholic guy, Murray Rundus, actually found the Immaculate Conception debate, and I was like, oh shoot, it's still alive. So I grabbed it and I put it on my channel. And so William's like, oh, that's a violation of copyright and stuff. And so I was like, whatever, I don't care. And people started watching it, and it turned out to be a pretty good debate. And then he deleted that because he was embarrassed. But then I called in on his show. And he's like, so yeah, I completely pummeled you in that debate. And I'm like sitting here like in the chat, like I literally have that debate on my channel now. And he's just like, well, he's a schismatic clergy. He's not a real priest. Yeah, so yeah, fake priest Joseph. Like me, I'm literally in the StreamYard waiting to come on. He's just calling me names. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And so that's William Albrecht.
I don't even think he did well against Dr. Joshua Sijuwade, even with Sijuwade's somewhat weird descriptions and terminology. I still think William didn't do that well. He didn't seem to grasp the distinction. Like, he didn't seem to grasp that monarchia is in fact not Arianism. Because he was like debating an Arian, but Dr. Sijuwade is not an Arian.
Hold on. Welcome, Bishop Enoch. Benedicite.
Benedicite.
How's it going?
Fine.
Bless the face. Thank you.
Continue talking. I'll just, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Occasionally, but we haven't seen Bishop Enoch much in like 2-3 years, so this is the most we've seen. I'm so happy that he's back. But anyway, so basically, Albrecht is, for lack of a better word, a fraud. The simple reality is he'll say things like the Sacred Heart is patristic, and then you point out that it was invented in the 13th century, and then he'll be like, but aren't all the fathers really part of the patristic thing? I'm like, no, not your fathers. They're Roman Catholics. They're dumb. I don't. They're not dumb. They're scholastics. But what are you gonna do? You commented on it. Remember the Albrecht video that he debated about usury and the RCC's changing position about it? No, I actually haven't seen that one. I try to watch less Albrecht the older I get. I'm willing to debate him, but I don't want to watch it.
That was years ago. He had what's his name on? guy who wrote the giant book about usury in the Roman Catholic Church.
Not Hoffman, no.
Yes, Michael Hoffman, and that was when they still had this Father Patrick, who was a Antiochian priest, I believe, at the time, or an MP priest, I can't remember. And it's sort of like that was when they were portraying themselves as, I guess, neutral or something like that.
Yeah.
But it went really bad because Hoffman was able to show all these documents from the medieval Roman Catholic Church that condemned all usury, all interest, completely universally, without exception. And then you start to get into documents from the Renaissance period, the 15th century, and the 16th century, and how the papacy gradually altered its position on all these issues. Now, Hoffman goes into more because he points out there's all kinds of like weird stuff going on in the papacy in the 15th century, like statues of Isis they brought into the papal curia. It's an extremely powerful, large book. It's about 1,000 pages. I would recommend anybody, if you get it, called the Occult Renaissance Church of Rome.
Okay. So what happened? What happened after? Like, what was Albrecht's response? Was he just like, no, my money market account?
Well, to Father Patrick's credit, he was like, yeah, this is correct. Because what did he have to do? He wasn't going to defend papism.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they just, from what I understand, they took it off. There was also the Fatima one you mentioned. They took off.
Yeah.
Anything that sort of presented a substantial counter narrative to papism was no longer acceptable.
Yeah, but, Michael often just dumps it. Yeah.
So, but anyway. I saw some of JEEM's videos, and so I wanted to ask him a question because he seems to be the only expert we have on the Middle East here.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay,
I would say that.
I don't really understand a lot of what's happening in Syria right now. So I wanted JEEM to explain: is the guy who is the president or the supposed provisional president of Syria, is he really an ISIS guy? Or is he like a reformed ISIS? Because he seems to be talking to all these world leaders. What is the situation there?
Yeah, great question. That's what's on everybody's minds. I think it's clear that his career was with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda actually really hated ISIS, so technically they would have been killing each other. But still, Al-Qaeda operates in a somewhat similar framework. They're just Al-Qaeda is kind of the more conservative, like in the traditional sense, the slightly more civilized fanatics, whereas ISIS was just random people from anywhere on earth who wanted an excuse to do jihad. But when this guy took over, he was calling himself Jolani. Now he's Al-Shara. So Jolani, Al-Shara, whatever you want to call him, he's rebranded a lot. He is meeting a lot of world leaders. And he recently did a video debut today where he was processing through a neighborhood, and he had all these unveiled women with him, many of them obviously past puberty, actually women, not just little girls. And he had no problem shaking their hand, giving them a hug. And so I think he's definitely trying to rebrand. And there's been a lot of fanatic groups, either ex-ISIS people or people who were in his interim government who thought this was going to be a jihadi government, who now hate him because they think he's betraying their cause. So what his real opinions are, I don't know. But he's trying to appear as the Western man for the job. And he's annoying and really pissing off a lot of the real jihadis who want his head for being a pagan, basically, and meeting with people that he shouldn't be meeting with.
Oh, wow.
So what's going to happen to the various Christian groups in Syria? Is there going to be any real change with their situation or what?
Yeah, so when the events that happened in March occurred, there was a little bit of overinflation on the internet where people assumed that whatever was happening to the Alawites happened in the same or greater number of the Christians. In reality, that wasn't the case. Some Christians did get killed in the crossfire, but mainly the damage done to the communities was just in terms of their infrastructure and their economy. How are they going to stay there when the country is not a real country? The government has maybe control over 35% of the country, and there's a lot of rogue jihadis still roaming around doing vigilante justice. In fact, the Sunni sheikh or the imam who supports Jolani just 2 days ago did a fatwa saying it is illegal to do vigilante justice because of how big it had become. All these guys from the Civil War who want to take out their anger on the Alawites or maybe even the Christians, they had to issue a fatwa saying you can't do that. So as for the Christians, it's going to be, it's not a quick explosion of violence. It'll be more like a slow death, if anything. Just not a lot of opportunity. There may not be opportunity in the government. The economy is not going to do well. So It really all depends. I also will remind you guys that it's only been a few months, and in the Middle East, a few months is nothing. This Jolani guy may not even be there next year. We have no way of telling. For right now, it's stable, but it's like a slow decline.
Yeah, because it seemed like from what the alternative media was saying, Assad was going to be there forever. Like they couldn't get rid of him, and then overnight, the whole thing evaporates. And which is quite surprising. I guess did you expect that to happen? Did you have any inside information that it was about to fall apart or what?
I didn't expect it to happen. I don't think anybody did, but I wasn't entirely surprised because Bashar's government did not pay its soldiers. They were basically like mercenaries because most of the army are Sunni Muslims. And so they don't like how he's persecuting Sunni Muslims. Whether he's in the right or not is another discussion. But they weren't that loyal to begin with. So when the money dries up, these guys from the north, backed by Turkey originally, seized the opportunity, and Russia was too busy with Zelensky in Ukraine to offer a helping hand. So there wasn't really a choice. So I'm not shocked it happened because of the corruption there. Like a lot of these guys in alt media, like you said, they had a very delusional view of Bashar. They don't know that in the 80s, his father and he himself did a lot of damage to the Christian communities in Lebanon. So they're not these pro-Christian people. They just politically use minorities to their advantage, and it didn't work out in the end.
Yep. Okay. All right. I'm just wondering. It's because you could never tell what was actually transpiring. It was just 3 or 4 different narratives going on.
I agree.
And well, whatever. Okay. Thank you.
All right. That was great. Give me a second here. I'm gonna go through the non-super chats as always. Once again, you can support the channel. We at NFTU need your help. Support us by subscribing or donating at nftu.net with various options like PayPal, Cash App, BTC, LTC, or XMR, or do a super chat. There is a goal on the stage here. If we can get $25 super chats or more, I will stay an extra hour. But if not, we're ending at 10:30 sharp. That's how this goes. No more of this, oh, just one more question. No. It's not allowed anymore.
What time zone are you on?
Eastern.
Okay.
So
it's 9 o'clock for you then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so basically, let's see here. Alexander says, now I'm going to the non-super chat. Alexander says, bro, slow down. I can't keep up. I'm sorry. Broker MP took a decade plus to admit the M3. Okay, wait, I read these. We're on. Let's see. Nope, read those. Let's see, I read those. Okay. Let's see. So what were we up to? So I'm trying to catch up. Now that we got past fake JEEM. Dollar General JEEM. Okay, I missed that. No, real JEEM. JEEM fridge reveal. Okay. A lot of people are very interested in you here, JEEM. Sunrise. Sunrise says, why is a papist calling someone a schismatic? Because that's what he does. It's all selective to him. Let's see. Kevin Klein said Master Bless, as did Saba. Okay, bless over there. Don't be a traitor, Saba. Dumb scholastics, papists, too busy doing science. No such thing as Western Orthodoxy. Au contraire, mon frere. There is indeed real Western Orthodoxy. And as a matter of fact, there's an actual bishop who is in the screen right now who could pretty much tell you everything you want to know about it. But I have a feeling you don't want to know anything about it because most people who don't like it for their own reasons. Red Conquista, I have the book. Gubbanova says they brought a statue of Pachamama more recently. Wouldn't surprise me. Orthopart says tell it to all the Western saints in Orthodoxy. That's correct. Goran apparently attacked Saba. Roman Catholicism says there's no place in EO. Sunrise says 10 years late on the meme. Polajani, I can't read what you wrote. Roman Catholicism didn't exist in any form until sometime around the 700s, 800s. I would say that that's generally the standard academic view, whereas I tend at least towards a hard view of Roman Catholicism really forming with the rise of Hildebrand in 1080. So Percival says, considering that ISIS has only been bought by the West and now only seems to target Israeli and American targets, that may explain why they're not exactly loved by the Muslims anymore. Apostolic Kingdom says, yo, JEEM is on the stream. Polozadnik saying something to Goran. Goran cursed and then said, speak English. Don't do that. Yeah. Father Antonio says, good evening, Father. Salva says, your blessing, Father. You see his comment on the screen is because he is a member. If you want your comments on the screen, either super chat or become a member.
Did you see the comment after the Apostolic Kingdom? Reconquista Orthodox said the filioque I believe started in Spain.
Yeah, no, that's actually a little earlier. The filioque, I believe,
Oh.
started in Spain. Leave it to my peeps to create the big schism. Don't blame them too hard. If you look at a lot of the manuscript tradition around Toledo 589, you actually do find, and Bishop Enoch could actually probably delve more into this, that there isn't nearly as much filioquist language as is assumed. And more importantly, that you don't really see mass insertion of the filioque into the liturgy until around the 800s or 900s.
Well, the narrative now, where it's caught up with, it's still way behind, is they will say that the filioque was not put into the creed at 589 in Toledo. That sort of caught up with that. One of the reasons that all the early manuscripts from Third Toledo, which are basically from the 800s or 9th or 10th century, which is like 200 years afterward. I mean, that's still pretty early in terms of finding manuscripts, really. But the early ones don't have the creed with the filioque. It's the form they use is ex patre procedentem. And just that's it. That's how
from the father
proceeding. From the father proceeding. It's not proceded. So they don't have it there. And the main thing so what the now current narrative is that they try to argue that the filioque was put into the creed in Spain, maybe like in 660s or something like that. But they really don't have a lot of evidence for that either. So it's it's a debated question at this point. So at what point it transpired? I mean, it obviously seems to have been there by the 11th century and such like that.
Yeah.
But you do have the other problem is that if you find like works by Saint Isidore of Seville, there are manuscript variations where some of his works, for example, interdifferent on the differences, does not have the filioque in his description of the relations of the persons of the Trinity. There is no description, no use of it. But other manuscripts, you can actually see it written in. In fact, you can see where one manuscript they doubled up where they said ex patre filioque filioque. All right. So because I think somebody had copied it in and then they put it into the side, because you can actually there's this whole scholarly pursuit where you can track like an original manuscript and then how people write in the margins. Yep. And a copyist doesn't necessarily, if he's copying, he's just copying what he thinks the text says. All right. So that's a whole other, even the issue about supposedly single immersion baptism is clouded in much more obscurity than people would like to believe, if only due to the fact that the putative letter that is said to have been written by Saint Gregory the Great to Leander, that it was challenged for when it first surfaced in like 780. Almost all of the people in France and some of the people in Spain said that it was a forgery by Elipandus, one of the adoptionist leaders.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist in the registry or the early registries, as I understand of St. Gregory's letters, even though they have other letters by him to other leaders. So you can't just say, it would only be in Isidore or be Leander's copy. And even some of the texts by St. Ildefonsus of Toledo, who was the Archbishop of Toledo in the late 600s, his book, I think, was a series of sermons to catechumens or text to catechumens. Only in like the 11th century do you have this like one section to the side talking about like single immersion or something like that. So even some of those issues are very, very late. They may have not even been done in any real sense. They may have just been some scribe that wrote something. As strange as that may sound, you can actually have that. So you have to be very careful with some of these materials and such. So I always caution people not to jump the gun on many of these points, because that's exactly I think what papism wants people to do. It wants people to assume that the filioque was always there since like hundreds of years before the schism, and everybody knew about it and was like, oh, great, wonderful. And then the Greeks just got upset in the 11th century over I don't know, something else. So that's my spiel about it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot of information, but for Reconquista and Governor, I think they really appreciate it. Let me see here. Father Antonius, which is Sava blessing. Goran says, "Why JEEM here with a heretic?" Well, who's a heretic? You're gonna have to be me. You're gonna have to be clearer. Sunrise, 10:30 a.m. Ha ha! You wish. No, I've already done the 6-hour stream. That ain't happening again, unless you donate accordingly. Nice to see Vladika and Jeem with you this evening, Father. Yeah, it is. It's great to see you guys. Jeem, do you have any thoughts or anything? Or are you just following along? Like, because sometimes people just come to follow along. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm following along. I'm probably going to go in a little bit, but I do. Reconquista Orthodox said, any Western saints against the filioque. I would say St. Hilary of Poitiers has some really good writings where it's abundantly clear. You have to read that as monarchia, otherwise it makes no sense. I would say that.
Yeah. Vladika, are there any later saints in the West who dealt with the filioque?
What do you mean?
Like like if they noticed the change or anything like that, like in.
No, I can't really think of anybody that was. I mean, I can't tell you for certain.
Okay. I was just curious
because generally, like a lot of the saints you have in the later periods, like Saint, let's say, like Saint Dunstan, we don't really have a lot of writings from. We sort of just have the life of their saints, the life of the saint. In fact, if you ever read, I think there's a book about the relations between Byzantium and the West, and it covers like the medieval period. Like if you ever look at the 10th century period, which would be interesting, right? Outside of what's his name, that one Italian bishop, the bishop of who visited Constantinople, and they didn't even mention the filioque in that discussion. There wasn't a lot of high level interactions. I mean, they did interact with Rome a lot.
Okay.
And you did have Greek bishops that went to Germany to visit relics and things like that. So that did happen. But I often think that due to the very fact that you didn't have a lot of discussion about it after the Eighth Ecumenical Council, which was between Pope John VIII and St. Photius, the Eighth Council, that they seemed to be content that the situation was going to be taken care of in some sense.
Right.
All right, because that's often how the church worked. That if you could get the patriarch and his people to agree, we don't like this, we're going to put it into it, then you're going to let them deal with it. All right, and hopefully they deal with it. All right, now as it happened, the whole West went into basically chaos in the 10th century, and it just more or less any kind of, they didn't really have a centralized papacy even before then, but any kind of sort of general order more or less collapsed as old Rome turned into what they called the pornocracy. You had various popes that killed each other, murdered each other.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go ahead and go right now. It's nice seeing everybody. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Benedicite. Oh, thank you. Your blessing. Oh, and look at this. Right on time. Somebody else comes in. Barnold. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. What's your question today?
Hold on, I'm gonna think of one.
Did you go back to your priest?
My local parish doesn't have a set priest.
Okay, did you call back your priest and repent, like I said?
My priest, the spiritual father.
Yeah.
I don't have a spiritual father yet.
Okay, so you've changed again. All right. So what's your question this time? Oh, someone called Bumpkinville Synod has joined. Oh, it's fighting time today.
Uh-oh. I was going to say one thing real quick. Mr. Goran demands to know why Jay Dyer blocked you.
Oh, yeah. Well, he blocked me many years ago, and, on Twitter because he was blocking all the true Orthodox people. But since then, I mean, I've been on his server. There's a video about it. And then he booted us and said, never let these people on again. There's a reason. So, what's your question, Bumpkinville?
I'm making I've been making a breakthrough in I'm trying to do some outreach here.
Outreach to who?
To other Orthodox people, and and I'm making a video game, and I figured it'd be pretty cool, and I kind of wanted your thoughts on it.
I don't play video games. I wouldn't have any thoughts.
Okay.
I mean, is it like Pac-Man or something? Because past that, I have no concept. The games are just too complex for an old man like me now.
It's a little bit more complicated. Um, it's it's kind of like a book, but it's got like pictures as well. But it's like on the screen, so it's kind of it's kind of a mess, really. But I'm trying my best, and
Okay.
I
Well,
just
I hope God blesses your efforts, and I hope it works out okay. I mean, I'm really not good at like any. I don't know game design or anything. I feel like I
Is it
can
like
say a prayer for you.
is it like a playthrough? Like you said, it's kind of like a story, and you walk through it, and there's a narrative going on. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
yeah. There's not much walking that goes on though. I mean, it, the camera kind of moves through each setting
Okay.
that you're in, and it's it's not that difficult to make or develop. It's made with RimPy, um, and that's a programming uh, uh,
Okay.
program.
Well,
Cool.
God willing, that works out well for you. Did you have any questions for us here on the show?
Um, I no, I just
That's fine. It was good talking to you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Have a great day. If you do have a question, you can always come back later. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. God bless you. Okay, Barnold. Sorry to interrupt there, but what's going on? So, like, you haven't reached out to your priest yet. You're, I assume, still doing the whole like pretend synod hopping thing when you have a church.
Oh yeah.
Stop doing that.
Well, I mean, I haven't been hopping from church to church. It's just
No.
haven't showed up to church.
But you should show up to church.
Um, uh,
You know he's not celebrating the new calendar. Don't even try that.
but the commemoration of Cyprian is like kind of.
He's not coming. Okay, Cyprian is literally a bishop in the Chiusa Synod. What do you? I mean, the Clinical Synod. What are you going to do? It's a different Cyprian. He's just the local bishop. Like it's not Cyprian of Philly. He died.
But they're disciples of his, and it doesn't make me feel right.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are other churches in California, man. But I wish you luck. But I just when people have a church right near them, I just don't see a good reason to leave.
He, with the Cyprian situation when he in his death casket, my friend
this
told
about-
me.
Is this about the mouth open again?
No, it's about a stench from his dead body. And they had to put a
Okay.
fan.
Yes, unfortunately, dead bodies more often than not will stink.
What?
But
Yeah.
Crazy.
but like when you see a holy man in a casket, he like smells good, right?
Not always, no.
But
Most
there was-
most hierarchs are not saints, so no.
Mhm.
Did you have any other questions though?
I'll think of another one.
All right. Well, when you do, come on back. See you later.
Thank you.
That was interesting. So he chooses theology based on how you smell when you're dead.
Hey, why not?
I do
Yeah,
have to head off and rest a little now, but thanks for hosting me here for.
No
I'll
problem.
tell you
Thank you for answering some interesting questions and giving us an update. Especially, I didn't know Jelani changed his name already. That's freaky. But yeah. All right, and you feel better. God bless you,
Thank you.
and you have a great rest of your night.
All right. See you guys.
Happy Feast of Pentecost. And soon we'll be fasting. Yeah, it's weird to say Happy Feast of Pentecost when you know it's like 7 fast-free days before another fast, but that's all right. It's a short fast. So I have to keep doing the math over. It's 24 days, 25 days or something. It's not that bad. All right. Let's see. Goran now has my attention. Goran, who I've seen JEEM on Jay Dyer. Now he's here. He chose a higher quality caliber show. What can I say? It's called Being Civil, the Immaculate Waxed Eyebrow. I have no idea what you're talking about. Goran says, are you all feds? Orthodox to you, maybe. I at dinner. Yeah, I am fed. that earns a freebie. Why not? That's funny. That's funny. Okay. This group isn't large enough to warrant Fed involvement. Not yet, but we're getting there. You know, we only did our 2,700 show like 3-4 weeks ago. We're almost at 2,800. This is what we want. The army is growing. Gordon says I'm not suspicious. Reconquista, we answered that one. That was a hard one. Sunrise says everyone on the internet is a Fed. Trust me, or a robot. All of them Reconquista. No such thing as Western Orthodox. You ever heard of St. Patrick? Yep, very true, Kevin. I heard Father Joseph saying he's against ecumenism. Now what's this? I am against ecumenism. First of all, I disagree on behalf of my synthetic overlords. Okay. Atomic Lead says, oh, wow, we G-maxing tonight. Beep boop. First of all says, we keep an eye on the beep boopers. Lauren says, I trust Jay Dyer. Atomic Lead follows up with bad life choice. I agree. Jay, after maxing, would you explain why you were muted yesterday?